little bit about the Graves captive wheel spacers that we are going to put on the ZX10R today. High quality product, first of all. I mean, it's Graves Motorsports. It's made in the USA. They are T6 billet 7075 CNC machined aluminum. Okay, basically this is much higher quality than if you're gonna go and try to buy some eBay spacers or anything like that, some Chinese made spacer. Basically what happens is if you get a cheaper type of aluminum, you risk the spacer actually crushing into your wheel bearing. You don't want that. Just go ahead, get something high quality, get the Graves Motorsports wheel spacer, captive wheel spacers. These are interlocking push-in wheel spacers. So what that means is your regular wheel spacers, they just kind of sit in there. They kind of float in there. They're not locked into anything. The Graves Motorsports wheel spacers have a little lip around the wheel spacer that you'll see in a second that allows them to basically just push in and lock into the spot where the wheel spacers go, and they're not going to come out. So when you're doing those quick wheel changes, if you're taking the wheels on and off a lot, anything like that, you're going to want to have these, because it's going to make your life so much more simple. For a long time, I didn't have captive wheel spacers, and just taking the wheels on and off the bike, it gets annoying when those stock spacers don't line up and they just fall out. So went ahead, did some research, went with the Graves Motorsports super high quality captive wheel spacers. Anyways, enough with the intro. Let's go ahead and get these on. All you're gonna need for the install is a 12mm wrench and a 32mm socket on a 1/2" ratchet. So let's get to it. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is loosen up your chain tension. So we wanna create some slack. So you're gonna take your 12mm and you're just going to loosen up this bolt right here that my wrench is touching. Loosen that up. And we're gonna do the same thing to the other side. Twist this whole tension bolt in to create some slack. Same thing on the other side. Okay, so once you have your chain tension bolts loosened on both sides, you're going to take your 32mm and you're going to take the axle off. All right, once you have this axle nut off, it's going to come with a washer, and then also the chain tension block. The chain is going to be able to come off. We're going to take this chain off. So the chain's off. You can just rest it over the swing arm like that, and then you're going to lift the wheel up, and you can push on this side, push the axle out. So once you push the axle on this side, see it coming out on this side, we're just gonna pull it all the way out. Axle's out. And now the whole wheel come right out. We can rest this rear caliper on the other swing arm. So now we have our rear wheel off. And you can see here's the first spacer. We're gonna take that out. And if we go to the other side, here's the other spacer. So there's both of the old spacers. Now we're gonna put in the Graves captive spacers. So we got the rear captive wheel spacers out of the bag. And as you can see, we have one large stock wheel spacer and the other one's a bit smaller. So the larger one goes on the side with the chain sprocket on it, and the smaller one goes on the side with the brake rotor. So we're going to go ahead and install this larger captive wheel spacer first. So here it is. As you can see, it has this little lip around it, and that's what keeps it sealed in there, whereas if you look at this stock one, it's completely flat. So that's what causes it to just come in and out and be all loose. So here's the new one. You just stick the lip right under the rubber seal, press it in, bam. Wow, yeah, that's not going anywhere. So this is going to be a very helpful thing, like I said, if you're taking your wheels on and off, because this, I mean, yeah, you would have to basically, you know, pull this out with a little bit of force to get it out. Other than that, this thing's gonna stick in there. And I like how this Graves one kind of has a slick elevation on it, so when you're sliding the wheel in, it's not gonna get caught on anything. So I like that as well about these. All right, let's get the other one in. So going to the brake rotor side, we have the other wheel spacer right here. And same thing, just gonna press it in, bam, not going anywhere. So there we go. We got both wheel spacers in, and now we can go ahead and put the rear wheel back on. So the rear wheel went right back on, super easy, first time, no wheel spacers falling out, literally just slapped it right in there. Definitely worth it. We got the rear axle in, and we're gonna go ahead, put everything back together. Make sure when you put this back on, one side doesn't have the little notch for marking where the alignment is on both sides. So make sure that alignment notch is sticking out. Let's see. The washer back on, and then finally your axle nut. All right, there we go. If you want to see a video on how to align your chain, which is what you need to do next to the correct chain tension, I'll put a link down in the description. I did another video where we were at Fast by Few, went over how to correctly tension a chain. So I'll drop that link down in the description below. For putting on the Graves captive wheel spacers for the front. So we're gonna get right to it. What you're gonna need is a 6mm Allen key. You're going to need a 12mm on a ratchet, 12mm socket on a ratchet. And you're also going to need, for me, since I have the beautiful Woodcraft front axle frame sliders, I need a 19mm socket. The stock bolt that you'll need to remove if you don't have the beautiful Woodcraft front axle frame sliders is going to be a 22mm hex. So other than that, the process is going to be exactly the same if you don't have these frame sliders on. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to remove these Woodcraft frame sliders. Come right out, you just pull this pin out, and bam, slider comes right off. That's why I absolutely love these things. Let's get the other one off. Sliders are off. Okay, so now that we've removed our frame sliders, we're going to take the 6mm Allen and we're going to loosen the axle pinch bolts on both sides. Those are right here. So you're going to loosen all those up real quick. You don't have to completely undo them, they just need to be loose so that the axle can freely slide out. You're going to do the same thing to the other side. All right, pinch bolts are loose. We can now remove the axle. So we got our 19mm. Remember, it's going to be a 22mm hex if you do not have these Woodcraft wheel sliders, or you can use the back of a 5/8 spark plug. All right, next we're going to remove the calipers. You're gonna need your 12mm, and I'm just gonna get those off real quick. All right, just remove the caliper. And just leave it kind of hanging off to the side for right now. Let's do the same thing to the other side. All right, same thing. Just take this caliper off and just kind of leave it hanging off to the side for right now. And now we can slide the front axle out and the front wheel will come off. So here's your front axle. You're just gonna lift up on the wheel, pull that straight out. So we're gonna do that real quick. All right. So front axle is out. Let's put that off to the side. We can go ahead and take the whole front wheel straight out. Here we go. So there we have it. You see the stock spacer on this side right here, and there's another one on the other side. So here, same process as the rear. So we're gonna take these and just replace these stock crappy ones that don't stick in well at all. Just take this and pop it right in there. Bam. Not going anywhere at all. Beautiful. Same thing to the other side. Take this, pop it in. Bam. Not going anywhere. This makes mounting the front wheel, just like the rear, absolutely a seamless task, and you never have to worry about these crappy stock spacers falling out. So, process to put the front wheel back on. Just do the steps in reverse. If you got any questions about the front or rear Graves captive wheel spacers, go ahead and drop your comment down below. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Click subscribe, click like, and we'll have another ZX10R mods video up soon.